What's going on? Silly here. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. I know it's early, and if you have the time, you have the time. And if you are a football fanatic and you want to meet Warren Sapp tomorrow, 9 a.m., Warren Sapp will be in Okeechobee at this meeting. Come show support for Warren Sapp and all the shenanigans that Okeechobee's been going through. And I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm gonna put money on the majority of us are gonna get kicked out. But if you want to show your support and then you want to go to the Okee Poke Bowl, yeah, come on out, because it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be a good time. So this video's I don't even know how to explain this, but let's get into it.
And good morning. We are following breaking news at this hour. A deputy-involved shooting that unfolded this morning in a very busy area of Brandon, the intersection of Winding Wood Avenue and Providence Road in Brandon. A gunman out in the neighborhood, wandering around wearing Army fatigues, an attack vest with a fully loaded assault rifle.
And we're going to walk through this news report. And the one thing about this is that I actually have a friend that, just as you heard, he had a helmet, he had a tack vest, he had an AR-15. And from the most part of this news article, they don't give any more information. They don't give names, they don't give anything. And the one person that I'm scared about right now is Open Government Investigations. You can probably see it up here. I'm concerned at this point, as of right now. So let's continue, and we're gonna break all this down.
Good morning. Welcome to the Stream Center. I'm Stacy Scheibel.
And I'm Beth Russo. Now, like Stacy mentioned, this happened in a very busy area about a mile from a school, not far from I-75, just off Lumsden Road and Causeway Boulevard. So we want to go ahead and pull in Jeff Patterson at this point. We are apparently not going to have him for a hot second, but we do want to talk a little bit more about this deputy-involved shooting, again, in Brandon, Windingwood Avenue, Providence Road. We do have Jeff live for us there right now. He just spoke with investigators a short time ago. Jeff, just wondering what you can tell us what you're learning from the scene.
Good morning. Well, we are at the scene right now, and let me just kind of show you where we are. We're on Providence Road. It's a very busy intersection here. Behind this truck that you can't see right now is the Lowe's Home Improvement Store. There's multiple strip mall shopping center to the right. At 7:24 when this happened, this is a very, very busy area. People going to school, people going to work. And so the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says they had multiple 911 calls about a man wearing full Army fatigues. He was wearing some kind of a bullet-resistant, vest over his fatigues. He actually, they say, had a headset on in kind of a military assault style. And most importantly, he was also carrying what they termed as an assault style weapon. So
now, when I heard about this story, I was freaking out. Like, completely freaking out. I was like, oh shit. Because I have a good friend that wears the same thing, but he actually goes out and open carries. So let me play a little clip of that real quick so you understand why my mindset is like, did my friend going out open carrying just get unalived because he was just walking down? Or even the person that, it doesn't matter. Who cares who it is? If they're walking down and they're going fishing, which we don't know at this point, that's the question. Right now, they are giving so vague answers to everything that's going on that what I'm hearing is very, very sketchy.
let me have Joey Capistrano kind of zoom in on the scene behind us, right next to a bus stop, and you can see that Lowe's behind us over there. Crime scene investigators, forensic investigators right now just starting to process the scene, get pictures of what they are, seeing over there. But there's also several sheriff's deputies' cars here. One of them is a lieutenant with 25 years of experience on the force, and you might be able to see there's evidence markers on top of his vehicle showing where bullet casings went. There's another deputy's car to the right where several evidence markers are just outside of the door. And what the sheriff's office is telling us is as soon as they received these 911 calls, they immediately responded. 3 deputies got out of their vehicles. They ordered this individual to put down his weapon. He refused several times to put down his weapon, and so all 3 deputies basically simultaneously opened fire on this individual.
Now, because they're being so vague about whatever transpired, obviously that they're telling 3 sheriff's deputies friggin' got out and told him to put down his firearm. And if you know me, there's no way in hell that if that many officers came out and started telling me to put my firearm down, there's no way I'm not touching it. That's the weird part about this, is that they're not disclosing what transpired before they all showed up. They just it's from what they're saying, they just showed up, put down your firearm, didn't comply, opened fire. That is what we're so far gathering from this. Now, let's just say hypothetically, they were out open carrying. Or let's say, hypothetically, they were going to the gun range. They're not giving a lot of descriptions, and they're not saying a whole lot to help us understand why did this guy point his gun at somebody? Like, what happened that made these deputies open fire on somebody just walking down the street?
He is not being identified at this time because the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has not been able to notify his next of kin. They're working to do that. As soon as we have that information, they will tell us who he is, and I believe there will be a lot more to this story once we are officially told who this individual is. But one of the things that I can tell you is a very difficult situation for these sheriff's deputies because, there's a lot of people who are commuting on Providence Road at this time of the morning, and so they had a very quick and difficult decision to make when you have an individual dressed the way he was, looking like he's ready literally for combat, and especially given what had just happened in Tallahassee at Florida State University.
This is probably going to be the most frustrating part for me, just because there was an evil person that did something at FSU. Just because of that person means that if you go out and you're doing something lawful, and once again, I don't know the ins and outs of all of this. They're being very vague. But let's just say it was me, right? I'm out open carrying, and whatever tragedy happened, which I'm like, I feel for it. But do my civil rights stop? Is the law that I can follow allowed to be followed, even though that some tragedy happened? Leave your comment down below, because you know something? Don't get me wrong. I do understand it. I've been dealing with this for almost 6 years. I still don't agree. Once again, we don't know the ins and outs of this, because they're being so vague about it that I can't wait to find out exactly what happened. So this is just the beginning parts. I'm trying not to get my feelings all tied up in a bunch about this, but I'm also trying to say there's something weird. Like, this guy was walking down the street, and what transpired? They don't want to say that right now. They're not saying, oh, this guy pointed a gun. Oh, this guy fired at deputies. They're not saying any of that. That's why it's going to be very interesting when these body cams come out.
All of that is on their minds with another possible mass shooting. So these deputies were faced with a difficult decision to quickly end the situation, which is what they did. They shot this individual, all 3 deputies opening fire. The individual was killed here at the scene. So let me just have the chief deputy of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office kind of paint a picture of what was going on early this morning.
Let me paint the picture first. 7:24 a.m. Parents taking their children to school. Community members going to work. What were they calling for? They saw a man, our suspect, dressed in full battle fatigues, army fatigues, if you will, attack vest with body armor, a headset of communication on his head, and a fully loaded assault rifle.
Now, everything he just said, none of what he's saying is illegal. Is it maybe suspicious? Well, I personally open carried with a person, and that's why I'm making this video, is because I was concerned that open government investigations, links will be in the description, and just so that you understand the context of what I'm saying, this guy did the same thing. So let me run a clip real quick. We're out here in North Miami, and if you remember, let's play a little clip so you get a little refresher of what happened here.
How's it going, buddy?
I'm living the dream. How are you?
Living the dream.
That's what I'm talking about.
Favor. Let me see your license, please.
No, sir.
Okay.
I got a fishing license, but you still need
Where's your
FWC.
fishing pole?
It's in the water. It's not a
It's in the
pole.
water?
Okay, we're being detained. Yeah?
So I can figure out.
You're not figuring out nothing today, buddy.
Tarot badge 480.
Well, of communication on his head and a fully loaded assault rifle. Imagine a mother or a parent taking your child to school, looking to the left or looking to the right and seeing that man. Immediately, multiple deputies responded to the scene.
When that is over.
Yeah, Jeff, can you hear us?
Hold on. Just having a little communication problem out here in the field. I can hear you now.
All right, Jeff, we just heard from that chief deputy. What a frightening situation. We want to reiterate, this happened at 7:24 a.m. this morning. A lot of 911 calls, I imagine, coming in because it's happening in such a busy area. There's a Lowe's nearby. There's all kinds of businesses
school about
there.
a mile away.
Yeah, only a mile away. And like you said, on the heels of what happened at FSU last week, seeing someone dressed like that, alone with a loaded rifle, I can't imagine the fear right there.
Now you can see where I have the Lowe's improvement in Lowe's. You know Lowe's. But do you see all those little blue marks that are right next to 75? All this. And once again, they are not telling us exactly what happened or why whatever happened. We don't know if he had a fishing pole. And from what I understand, I hear there's a gun range in the same vicinity. But as you can see, all the blue, those are all like lakes, ponds, whatever. And I'm not saying this guy was out there open carrying, going fishing. I'm just saying, is it feasible? And why didn't these officers, these officers just came out, said, hey, get rid of your rifle. And if you don't, well, now we're having this discussion.
Of course, and let me just have Joey kind of show you where that Lowe's is so you can see in proximity to how close to a very busy shopping area this is, just south of State Road 60. This is an incredibly busy intersection at that time of the morning with people going to work, people going to school and everything. So there were a lot of people in this area. So as you can imagine, there were a lot of 911 calls. We do understand two of the deputies have body-worn cameras. The lieutenant, with 25 years of experience in the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, because of his command position, does not have a body-worn camera.
This is the most important thing about all of this. These body-worn cameras should be mandatory across every state, regardless of what their feelings are. those body cams give a, I don't care about your feelings, we're just going to show it without prejudice. Period. That's why I carry a camera. If I'm doing something wrong with my camera and I have it on my camera, I will be held accountable. But if I catch them doing something wrong, they're held accountable. My camera doesn't care one side or the other. That's why it's so important for these counties to make sure everybody is equipped with a body cam. Leave your comment down below if you agree with me.
Sheriff's office, because of his command position, does not have a body-worn camera, but he certainly has a great deal of experience. Interestingly, all three of these sheriff's deputies, including the man with 25 years of experience, this is their first experience with deadly force. They had not used their weapons in a case of deadly force before this incident. So, you know, you have to, your heart goes out to them. For one thing, they were not wearing tactical gear. They came up wearing the body armor that they're issued, and so they come up with a man who looks like he's ready and dressed for combat, and then they have to quickly deal with that. There wasn't time to get a SWAT team in here. They had to react quickly to the evolving situation as it developed.
And why aren't they talking about what happened? Why aren't they saying, oh, said person pointed his rifle, or said person pointed... Why is this so vague? Okay, he's wearing a friggin' helmet with, you know, his little whatever, his little walkie-talkie on his helmet. Okay. Is it legal? Yes. He's walking around with said body armor. Is it legal? Yes. Is he walking around with an AR-15? Does he have a Second Amendment right? Yes. Now, even if he wasn't open carrying while going fishing, hunting, or camping, or going to a gun range, or whatever, he still has a right to carry the firearm. Is it against the law here in Florida? Yes. But they are not talking about what happened. They're just saying, oh, some guy was wearing a helmet, body armor, and a rifle, walking down the sidewalk, and that's it. That's where they end it. Once again, leave your comment down below. As more of this comes out, I will keep covering this, because something about this just sounds really weird. This is like, if you saw the video in Brevard, they were ready to pull the gun. They were ready to pull that trigger. And once again, they're not disclosing what happened. They're just saying, oh, he was walking down the road with all this stuff on, and so we decided we needed to friggin' end the threat because of the thing that happened in FSU. That's what they're saying.
To react quickly to the evolving situation as it developed. There was a Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office aerial unit overhead, and we understand that later there will be video released from the body-worn cameras and from the aerial unit, but there was just a lot going on here at that time of day, and so you know, I do believe that, like I said, once we learn who this individual is, there will be more to this story, and so all of these facts are kind of evolving as we speak. You just saw behind me the crime scene investigators processing the scene out here. Hillsborough County State Attorney Susie Lopez was out here. The senior agent in charge of the FDLE was out here. Of course, the FDLE will take over the officer-involved shooting, and part of this investigation is part of normal operating procedure. Right now, traffic is somewhat limited here on Providence Boulevard as deputies try to work through this crime scene and process everything that they have to fully investigate what happened out here. But the other aspect of what happened out here is that we're told this individual, in addition to the Army fatigues, you know, that he was wearing, and the flak jacket he was wearing, he was also wearing a headset. So I asked the chief deputy, was he in communication with anybody? Is there any reason to believe there was anyone else involved in this situation? And what we were told is the public's safe. They don't have any reason to believe it at this time that anybody else was involved, but all of those facts will kind of come out as this investigation evolves.
And Beth, I wanted to share this with you too. it's still pretty fresh. We don't have the name of the suspect. This all unfolded at 7:24 this morning. But Beth, we just learned some new information.
Yeah, what we're learning so far is that this man does have a criminal record. And that's always going to be a big question in these investigations, Jeff, is whether or not there's a history here of violence, of past criminal history, past criminal charges. Do we know specifics about that when it comes to this man?
So the criminal background is pretty minimal, actually. He was cited for trespassing. He was arrested because he refused to leave the scene. We don't know where yet that was involved. And he had a marijuana possession. So, there was no violent history at all in this man's past, at least in terms of a criminal record. No violent history that we are aware of at this time. We don't know yet where he originally was from. We just know that we believe he was living in this area at the time. I just spoke to a man, by the way, there's an apartment complex right over here, and I just spoke to a man who lives at that apartment complex. He actually heard the shots that were fired. That's what I was doing right at the top of the hour when you were getting set to come to me, was speaking to that man. He heard those shots fired and was alarmed, somewhat frightened, because this isn't a neighborhood where you would normally hear shots fired. You might hear a lot
Not
of
at all.
traffic, but
Right
not,
near someone's
but
home.
not that kind of activity.
Jeff, just for the audience's sake, we want to point out that even though you may have the suspect's name and now it's not something we will share because next of kin hasn't been notified. So we typically will not share that name until it's released to us officially. But you do have some details on that man's background, but it's still pretty early in this investigation, right?
So what I would say to that is, and I feel pretty strongly about this, it's not the media's job to let a family know that their loved one has
Correct.
died. So, we wait, of course, for official notification about, when we are told this individual's name. Yes, I know some facts about this man's history and background, but beyond what I just shared with his criminal history, I'm told from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office that if more information is released about his background, it could kind of narrow it down to let family members know before they're officially notified about who he is. Those details will come out in time. But what we can share with you this morning is it was a busy scene.
Yeah, clearly in a very busy area of Brandon. And just to reiterate, at 7:24 this morning, a deputy-involved shooting in Brandon at Winding Wood Avenue and Providence Road. Jeff Patterson has been there. He's tracking it. You were there for the press conference. This was a guy dressed in Army fatigues, an attack vest. He had a communication headset on and a fully loaded assault rifle. You can imagine the fear in that neighborhood as people saw that guy walking down the street.
Yeah, very busy area there with a school a mile away, just off I-75. Jeff just mentioned that he was talking to someone who was in their apartment and heard those shots be fired. Super scary situation as families are heading to work and dropping their kids off at school.
All right, Jeff Patterson, we appreciate your time this morning. We know you'll have much more on this coming up later on News Channel 8. And in the meantime, at WFLA.com. So thank you very much.